And welcome back to Ron's Cool Feature of the Week. And this time Matt has joined us, and this is something I've wanted to talk about for a little while. And as I was mentioning, I was interested in it when I heard about it at VMworld and saw all the talks about it, and even saw some folks outside of VMware talking about it. And it just fell off the top of my list for some reason until now, when I hear you on a podcast, last week, and I'm like, all right, I got to get Matt on, and we've got to talk about XR Hub and kind of the proliferation of AR and VR in our space, and it's really interesting. But Matt, let me let you introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of jump into this.
Yeah, so Matt Cobbinger, I've been around quite some time at VMware since 2007. I worked on the original VMware View, or VDM back then, product.
Yeah, you came over with Propero, right?
Propero, that's right, yeah. So one of the originals, still at VMware, had a wonderful time. I think, what is it now, 15 years?
15 years,
so
wow.
15 years, coming up for 15 years at VMware, loved it. It's been a roller coaster ride, seeing the VDI business build out. I have worn a number of hats, everything from professional services to implementing our products at scale with our customers in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and then being able to lead our global practice for VDI, and then moving into tech marketing, leading that for a while, and then jumping into Octo. So I've had a couple of hats, but now I'm a director of product management within end-use computing, focused on a bunch of different things, but primarily kind of emerging technologies. Yeah. So looking at, how we might leverage machine learning, integration with partners, and as you brought up, a new breed of devices coming into the enterprise focused around augmented reality and virtual reality.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about, is a little bit of the AR, VR in our space, and of course, specifically the XR Hub. To me, I always ask the question, why are we building this? And we had talked before this, and you had mentioned sometimes the folks in IT don't see the value in AR, VR yet, right? Which makes sense a little bit when you think about people in IT are always focused on maintaining, right? We're patching, we're updating images, we're deploying updates for apps for our consumers. But being visionary is a small part of their job most times, but where that vision comes from is often outside of IT, coming with requests for, we think we can do A, B, or C better. Can you support us in this? And you're trying to warn the IT folks, this is coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, hopefully many people are aware of augmented reality and virtual reality. I think with, companies like Meta pushing, the Oculus Quest, you can't miss that at Christmas time or over the holidays. That's a wonderful device. It's a great example of the technology in the consumer space, and it's, $400 for that device is incredible. It's an amazing gaming experience. But yeah. And so I think a lot of people kind of don't necessarily understand how VR can be applied in business in the enterprise. And for us, what I call 2D workers, probably there aren't that many use cases. Mm-hmm. But as you know, we're focused on supporting, all of our colleagues and as many users as possible. And we're focused on supporting frontline workers. And when it comes to frontline workers, there is no better training resource than VR. Immersive training, you can look at the studies out there, 83% more effective than traditional training methods. So in supporting frontline workers, people having to respond to the global pandemic, people in healthcare, people in oil and gas, even retail, all of those spaces benefit from immersive training technologies. And that's really delivered by virtual reality. And with this low cost, the low cost of devices now, we're starting to see many of our enterprise customers use virtual reality for training. And of course, when you want to deploy that at scale, you need to be able to manage those devices and provide a great employee experience. And that's kind of why we're doing this and why we're focused on supporting VR and AR devices.
It's interesting. I look at tech like this, and whenever I see something that I think is going to get a large adoption, it's because of what I see happening in the consumer space a lot of times before it gets into our business space. And what I mean by that is you can even look at cell phones. We all had the old Nokias and the flip phones and whatnot. And then if you happen to work at a place where somebody put a BlackBerry server in, you had a BlackBerry. But the iPhone, which was completely consumer focused, and then of course the Android after it, changed the way our users behaved, gave them ideas, right? And who knows if it's a good idea to give consumers new ideas, but gave them ideas on how to use that tech at work. And I think that that's what we might start to see with the AR, VR is now that the prices are coming down, now that people have more experience with it, the more they experience it, they're going to say things like, I was in this game or I was in this online something and I could see around me and I could interact with things and I understood it better. Why are we not doing this with my mechanical engineering class, with my, my healthcare classes if people are starting to become nurses or doctors, or even, it's one thing to show a picture of a fire to a fireman trainee. It's another thing to allow them to walk around a simulation of a fire and watch how it behaves and learn that way. So this is going to be interesting to see kind of as it comes out.
It's really game changing. And you make a great point. I remember that call from a customer we had where they said, iPads had just come out and they called up and said, our CTO has just bought 1,000 iPads, right? It was like brand new, like iPads had just come out and it was a consumer device that we bought, however many thousands of iPads and we need to manage them. And, we are starting to see that. And everyone was, well, of course, right now it just makes sense. You've got tablets in business and you have these new devices. If you look at companies like Walmart, right, deploy 17,000 training, headsets for training to their staff. Wow. Accenture just bought 60,000 VR devices to hand out to all their new employees because they see that as a key technology for training, for onboarding, and ultimately collaboration. So I think training will be and is the initial use case, but it will broaden out as the devices get lighter, get more functional. We'll be able to do a lot more kind of productivity tasks, such as collaboration. And it makes sense for people that work in 3D product design, architecture, engineering, construction, manufacturing. They want to work. They are 3D workers. They want to work in 3D media production, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because we're talking about, we're actually discussing two different concepts here, right? AR and VR. And I actually think you're right that the intro is going to be into training and immersiveness. I think the next step after that, you hit on it a little bit, is collaboration. Right now, there's a big focus because we know from now on a large percentage of, what I call laptop workers, right? People who have a laptop from work and have been working from home, they're not coming back to the office. But those businesses want to maintain or increase productivity, and they're going to look for any tool they can, right? So I think that the collaboration and productivity and gains that we can see there are going to be big. And then for me, that might be more of a VR play, but I see a huge play just in the real world for augmented reality. I think that there's something there when paired with things like machine learning and AI that would, workers that we never thought we could support with some type of new technology, a bridge inspector, someone who inspects aircraft. All of a sudden, if he's wearing normal glasses that are just pointing out things to him based on an AI algorithm behind going, wait a minute, that one fin on that is a degree off. You couldn't see it with the naked eye, but I can show it to you. I think that is 5-10 years out max, so this is really interesting stuff. So what are we doing on this side? Obviously we're not making headsets. Let's get back to VMware a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely an exciting future. And I think that's supported by the amount of investment you're seeing by, tech companies like Meta or Google or Microsoft, and rumored Apple, so it's an exciting space. But getting back to, the cool feature of the week is, what we want people to understand, the key takeaway is today Workspace ONE UEM supports these devices. So if your, innovators or your training teams or your HR teams are coming to you about supporting, these VR devices, know that with Workspace ONE, you are well supported. We support those devices. You can enroll those devices. You can manage them, push out Wi-Fi profiles, device profiles, apps, and content, right? And deliver, get them on your network, secure them immediately. So that's the first key thing. I think we're one of the few enterprise UEM providers, globally that enables that, right? So that's the very first thing is to know is that we support these devices. One of the things obviously that we've learned, so VMware has its own VR at work deployment globally, and we manage those devices with Workspace ONE, and that all works great. One of the things that we learned though was, managing the devices is not enough. You need to be able to provide, and we pride ourselves on employee experience. Our IT team is called the colleague experience team. We want to delight our users and deliver, a great employee experience. And so this is where XR Hub, Workspace ONE XR Hub, which is in beta today, that's really where it came from. It was born from our own experience deploying AR and VR devices internally.
Cool.
So XR Hub is focused on delivering that Workspace ONE employee experience on the headset.
Very cool. Very cool. And I know you have a little bit of a demo, and maybe we could run it and you could tell us what's going on, and just so people can see it. Let's go ahead and let's do that.
Yeah, let me share that right now. So awesome. This is XR Hub, but I will show you Workspace ONE UEM to start off with, just to show that we can enroll these devices into UEM. You're going to see here a list of different types of devices. There are a number of vendors out there. There's Meta, there's HTC, there's Pico. We can manage those devices. We can push profiles down to those devices, as you're seeing here. All the standard controls, they're based on Android. So everything you can do on Android today, through UEM, we support on these devices. We can push files, we can push apps, we can push content. So here I'm pushing down XR Hub, which is called VXR Client, Project VXR initially, and it's now XR Hub. So I'm pushing that down to the device. Enrollment, and I'm just going to pause it here, Ron, because I know that you like to point out kind of tips and tricks.
Yeah.
One of the challenges today with these devices is they are Android, but they're not your standard Android phone. They are based on Android open source. And so what that means is they don't come with Google Play Store, Google Play Services, GMS. What that means is we don't have zero touch enrollment. We don't have that ability to kind of, double tap on the screen or triple 6-time tap on the screen and implement MDM. So one of the things today that you need to keep in mind on these devices is you need to be able to stage the devices like we do with rugged devices in Workspace ONE today. You need to side load or provision the agent in the vendor supported way, and then enroll the device manually. So we can launch Intelligent Hub app on the device today, and you can enroll that way, or we can script that enrollment. But that's just a tip and trick.
It makes sense. It makes sense. We're dealing with essentially a stripped down, unmanaged Android platform, and you've got to do something so we can manage it. That makes sense.
Yeah, and absolutely. The key thing to keep in mind here is that a lot has changed in VR in the last 2 years. I can't say that enough. All of the vendors have implemented the Android Enterprise APIs, which really puts the Workspace ONE in a great position to manage them with that. So, and obviously the performance of the headsets has improved as well. So not only is it more comfortable to use now, but it's a great management experience on the Workspace ONE side. But the challenge you'll have is enrollment and staging. So something to keep into consideration. But here I'm just going to manually enroll the device, enter in my enrollment details, and then the device is enrolled, and immediately Workspace ONE will start pushing down all the device profiles and applications and put the headset, in our case, put XR Hub as a kiosk mode app. So when the employee puts on the headset, this is the first thing they see. They don't see, the standard app store or whatever. It's straight into an employee experience, enterprise experience, customized environment. You can completely customize this environment. You can change the 3D model, the artwork, the logos. You can have a custom tutorial video in there. We support multi-factor authentication. So we're using Workspace ONE Access here to authenticate. And this is on the very first time the user uses this. And what I'm actually going to do is check the device out to that user on first login, get them to set a PIN so I can then implement single sign-on. So the next time they access it, they just hit the PIN and they're straight in. No username and password in VR, straight in. And it's a kiosk mode app, so I can access things like the controller settings and Wi-Fi settings and boundary settings and all those things. We can then basically give them access to any application provisioned to them through Workspace ONE. So SaaS applications, single sign-on straight into SaaS, really intuitive UI. You can move these windows around, you can watch videos in this at life size. We can actually switch off the virtual reality background and show your office. So then you can access your keyboard and you can type and all those kind of things. This is showing single sign-on now into a third-party native VR application. So this is our collaboration app that we use at VMware. So I'm straight in, again, no sign-in, just single sign-on into the app, and I can meet colleagues, I can present, we can high-five and all those things. This is showing an integration with Horizon. So again, back to the productivity use case, if you needed to access a Windows app on one of these headsets, we can launch a Horizon session and log straight in. And I'm going to pause there because that was a lot to take in.
Yeah, there was a lot there. And, you know, as you were talking, I was thinking about the steps to enroll. And of course, as we go farther, this becomes simpler and simpler, just like everything else in technology. But, you know, where a lot of companies are today, if they're dealing with AR or XR at all, is they're playing with it. Not everybody's leapt in and bought 1,000 and are ready to stage them and set them out. But this is something this is a fundamental question. If I had a new piece of technology and I was working at wherever, one of the big box retailers, a school district, a government agency, whatever, and I was playing with this technology to support some use case, one of my questions is going to be, wait a minute, how do I I can't set up each one of these 500 manually. This is insane. You've got to stage them. You've got to get the agent on, configure all that. And that's, as people look at this, I think they have to look at two factors: which devices and what use cases are good for us. And if that's great and it does well for their company, productivity, training wise, whatever, how are we going to manage it now? You know, the last thing any enterprise wants to do is introduce even 100 devices that they can't reconfigure centrally.
Right. And that's what Workspace ONE delivers. Yes, the enrollment experience needs to be better. And the great thing is we have a great relationship with all the, major manufacturers of these headsets. And we have roadmap items to get that enrollment experience out of the box. We kind of want that out of the box. User turns the device on, they have an option to enroll into Workspace ONE from boot. And we're certainly getting closer to that with vendors, and that will come. At VMware, we have a great process where we will plug a headset in, run a script and it's enrolled, and then we ship that headset off to the user. So, all of that is, once the enrollment is done, that's the pain point to get over, and we are working on that. But once it's done, you can remotely manage these devices at scale, and like I said, we have hundreds deployed at VMware, and we have customers deploying thousands of these devices and managing them, remotely. And I think the key thing is, with XR Hub, obviously that's beta, so no one's pushing that into production. But what that's showing is the ability to, as you ramp up the number of, apps or content that you're pushing to these devices, it gives you that secure access to multiple apps. So native VR apps to start with, of course, but we also showed if you needed to do SaaS, web, or VDI, you can. And then the final use case is this one, which is probably going to appeal to, more of, your audience, Ron, which is how we're using Horizon to kind of deliver that next capability. When you think of these standalone headsets, they are mobile devices, right? So they have, although they deliver a great VR experience, they are limited in the fidelity of experience. And you mentioned a great one around firefighters, for example. So we work with a company that does firefighting forensics, where you actually have to go in and you investigate how a fire started by, investigating room, and it's photorealistic, it's super realistic. You can't drive that on a standalone headset. So this is a PC-based simulation that needs a graphics workstation. So what we've done is actually work closely with Duncan Ebbing on this to prove that you can run a high-fidelity VR simulation on a virtual desktop, so a Horizon desktop with an NVIDIA GPU. So we run the simulation and the VR app on that virtual desktop on Horizon. And then we're leveraging NVIDIA CloudXR, which is a VR streaming protocol, completely compatible with Blast Extreme. So, you can think of Blast Extreme for 2D apps and desktops, CloudXR for VR apps, and they can run together at the same time. So what we're doing is we're running that high fidelity sim on the PC and then streaming it with CloudXR to the standalone headset. And we enable that, accessing that through XR Hub. And so I'll continue the video and you'll see that happen here. So this is really dealing with people that want to do high fidelity simulation and training, as we already mentioned. This is a kind of inner space type sim, which is flying through the human blood system. You learn about how the blood system deals with things like viruses coming into the blood system. So it's an educational, and let me just step back here. It's an educational, VR thing, VR experience deployed at Coventry University. So they have an on-prem Horizon deployment on their campus, private 5G network with Vodafone, and students can go to a 5G location, put on a headset, and they're streaming the experience from Horizon to the headset. It's super cool. And then what they also do is leverage the desktop to stream it to Zoom or Teams, so that remote students can then follow along. So it can be instructor-led, it can be student-led, And it's a really great example of delivering high fidelity VR experiences through Horizon and XR Hub.
Yeah, I love that button that says Anatomy Viewer.
Right.
See, I'd already be clicking on a bunch of things in here.
Yeah, I mean, there's some amazing VR things you can do with VR experiences. That healthcare, for example, looking at patient data in VR, really getting into that 3D data. There's lots of potential opportunities, for VR around that. The final piece that we wanted to show was day 2 support. So that we obviously have Workspace ONE Assist today, and that can now enable you to remote support of mobile phones and tablets and Windows devices, etc. So that also works on VR devices. So it's super low frame rate, but it's enough. And if I pause the video here, it's enough for you to be able to see what's happening in the headset to help troubleshoot a headset. You can pull logs, you can execute various commands and help troubleshoot data if someone had a problem. So Workspace ONE Assist also works on these.
That's actually really cool because, and you're right, it probably can't be super high fidelity today, but it's like session shadowing, right? Those folks that are trying to do remote support, talking on the telephone, everybody who's ever picked up a support call knows how hard that is sometimes. And this is, for a new way to do it, you want this. You want to be able to see what they're seeing because that's the world they're living in. It's not just a keyboard to them. Right.
It's when you're in the headset, at least if you had a problem with the headset, you just say someone, hey, put on the headset. I'm going to connect now, and you reproduce the issue for me, and then you can pull logs as well. So just from a troubleshooting perspective, this is really going to help, and it goes to show how the whole Workspace ONE platform is helping you from obviously enrolling the devices, managing the devices, pushing content and apps, day 2 troubleshooting, and obviously with XR Hub coming soon is that employee experience as well.
Well, yeah, and not even we see this for troubleshooting now, but as we talk about the possibilities, right, the ability to shadow someone's VR session is a great instructing tool. Right. Yeah. If you're dealing with the anatomy, we're talking about the human body, or you're dealing with a complex architectural structure, let's say, an instructor, if we draw this out to where you could shadow people, an instructor could say, okay, you guys have 15 minutes to locate the fault in this structure we've built virtually. And these engineering students go off and start looking for the faults and whatnot. And what does the instructor do? He can pop through in the future and watch what they're doing. And someone goes, oh, I've got it. Let me come to where you're at in your VR world and watch it. You show me what's wrong. That is more like a hands-on learning experience than anything you'll get in a 2D flat screen.
And those are the kind of use cases that we want to support. We don't, there are various streaming technologies for kind of casting what someone's doing in the headset to a TV or something like that. Obviously, Assist is not really designed for that. It's low FPS, but ultimately that's kind of where we want to get to, right? Is that classroom type experience. But you make a really good point, and this is one of the key things around understanding the power of VR is, and I don't want to scare anyone, but I can track your hands, and some of the devices can track your eyes, so I know exactly where you're looking, what you're, how quickly you're doing things. I can record that and play back that exact experience. There's some great training things around not just complex kind of mechanical tasks, but HR tasks. So difficult conversations or presenting in public, I can capture every word that you say, where you're looking, how you're saying it, all of these things. Obviously we're not picking up on things like body language necessarily. I can track the hands, but there are cameras coming that will track your face, the gestures you have in your face, whether you're smiling, whether you're, showing anger or whatever. So there's some really incredible things with VR training. It's because it's digital, because we can track the hands and the eyes and other things. We can really record someone's performance. And I think that is super powerful, and it's going to help people. And this is critical. The global pandemic, to your point, Ron, is shown that we can be more remote and support our colleagues and support our business. And that's, I think, one of the key things of VR is ship headsets out to your employees, have them training VR. It's a more effective training experience, and it can be done remotely. So it's going to be a game changer, I think, for supporting frontline workers and education.
Yeah, no, I think it's a huge thing, and we always use, when we talk about VR or AR, we always use these physical examples, the structure in the engineering class, the anatomy of the human body, the things like that. And I actually believe that even though we're humans in a 3D world, and this helps to represent that better, humans also need to see more of each other and interact with them to get something out of communication, whether it's training or a meeting or whatever. And right now, lost are the days of standing at a whiteboard and trying to explain something technical you figured out to a group that's supposed to pick it apart. We do it via Zoom and we pull it off, but it's hard. Now imagine you were in that room, that collaboration room. It becomes a much more interactive experience, therefore productive. You establish better bonds and connections with the team. There's a lot of human stuff in here that we're trying to make up for that's missing in this 2D world. And I think that I don't think we know all the benefits this is going to have yet.
Yeah. I don't see it replacing human interaction. I think a lot of people are worried about the metaverse, and it's not about that. It's about augmenting, and connecting us. So you make a great point about the whiteboarding. In VR, you've got an unlimited number of whiteboards. I mean, I'm probably like you, right? When you're working out an architectural diagram, you run out of whiteboard space, right? Yep. But in VR, you've got unlimited. I can save that. We have in our thing, you can airboard, right? So everyone can start airboarding. You can whiteboard in 3D. There's some great things. So I totally agree. It's about augmenting and connecting us while we're remote, helping us be more productive.
Yep.
And for those use cases will build out as the technology, matures.
And for a while, we watched YouTube videos of guys with light boards, and we thought that was awesome. I can't wait to start seeing the videos and the 3D VR videos of airboarding. And just moving your hand and, okay, swipe this, move this over here, start doing it again. I can't wait.
One of the great demos, one of the early demos we did improving this technology out, we did a demo with Dell. So we built a virtual Dell R740, with all the components. And then we just created some instructions with some animations, kind of like ghosty animations showing you how to build it. And so Alan Renu, who, is a PM at, we got his 13-year-old daughter, never seen a Dell, didn't know what a Dell server was, but she built an R740 with no instruction, and put all the components in the right place, in the right orientation slowly. It was eye-opening to see that.
That is amazing. That's an amazing demo. That's an amazing demo.
So, and we had that running in both AR and VR. So you were practicing VR, so you're not touching any. And then we had an AR device where you would actually have a real Dell server there in front of you. And so you would use the training in VR and reinforce what you're doing in AR. But in AR, it was kind of overlaid in real life. So you would see, hey, this fan goes here, the CPU goes here, the PSU goes here, with animation showing you how to fit it. So if you can imagine for people on the factory floor or whatever doing complex, assembly tasks, you've got a guide, certainly for new people starting, and it allows you to kind of, take on board, people that might not be as skilled, but you can quickly get them up to speed and
train them faster. And the interesting thing about that, especially using AR in the real world, like in this example, we're using a server assembly, but the amazing thing about that is not only can you train people faster and get them competent in a task a lot faster, you can also do QA during the entire process. Yeah. So where you used to put someone on a manufacturing floor or on task building something, and that's a new guy. Let's make sure to check. Let's do QA. Let's look at this. Now the QA can happen or start to begin to happen in real time, where everything is checked, verified, your quality's high. It's, again, back to that increase in productivity. And this is exciting stuff. And we could probably spend 2 hours just going over how all the interesting facets of this. But I think we've kind of covered it, at least for this video. So the XR Hub is in beta. Yeah. And people can go sign up for that beta. Do you have any recommendations before they sign up, or qualifications for people who are qualifying for beta stuff? Anything like that before we?
So you need to be, obviously an existing VMware customer to access the beta community site, which is beta-ea.vmware.com. So I think you need to be an existing customer. If not, I think you can apply for a key. Certainly, Google that and you can get hold of a key. If not, just reach out to your VMware team. But grab a headset, like I said, just grab a headset, speak to the headset manufacturers, grab a headset, get familiar with the technology, try enrolling one. into Workspace ONE and play around with it and see what's capable. And maybe you're the innovator, right? Talking to our customers, maybe you're going to be the innovator that can bring this technology to your business. So just jump right in, start managing it with Workspace ONE and have a go at XR Hub.
This is awesome, Matt. I really appreciate it. I know we're separated by time zones, and so it's late where you are, early where I am, but I appreciate your time today.
No worries.
And that's it for today's feature, cool feature of the week. See you next time.
Thanks, Ron. Cheers.